It's flower time, let's go. We think the farm looks amazing right now. It's my favorite time of year, and I just feel like this is a time of year where the flowers are so gorgeous. So let's go and do a tour and have a look at things in a bit more detail. I'm also going to show you a little bit about our plans for the winter. So we need to get the fencing, so I'll show you the plan for that. I do have a couple of thank yous though to some people who have bought me a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee. But I'm using the money for Star Pickets, which is going to go towards our fencing. So that's what I'm going to show you a bit later in this video, how that's going to work out. I want to say a very special thank you to Sally and Kirsten, who have gone and bought me a coffee. Thank you so much. Someone who's remained anonymous, thank you. And also Slavica, I hope I'm saying your name right. So not only did she buy me a coffee, she also gave me a couple of video ideas. So I'm going to work on those in the coming probably months as well. All right, let's get into this. We, as you know, have had a very rough season, but finally we've got almost all the rows with something in it. Some are on the end, some are still growing, some are just being planted out now. So I feel like it's a really good time for a farm tour. For those in other climates, we are at the end of, for those in other climates, we are in the middle of our autumn or fall, and it has just started to cool down. So we're starting to see a slowdown of the summer crops, and those cool season crops are starting to take off, and we are really busy getting cool flowers sorted ready. Entering in our very makeshift gate, fencing is something we're going to work on. So that's probably the first thing to note, and we're not going to have it so tight like it is here. We're stretching it out. I'll put an overlay up on the screen right now. We're thinking the fencing is going to go way out where you can see that red line, so that we've got plenty of room to get vehicles in, because sometimes we do get machinery in, and in the future we may want to get a car in or some kind of vehicle, we're not sure, but we do get deliveries, and up the back here is where the hothouses are going to be, so we do need lots of space to get around. And it's going to involve moving some existing fences And a lot of those fences we're going to use the star pickets from, but I'm also buying some star pickets, as you know, from the money that people have sent through Buy Me a Coffee that's actually going towards star pickets. And if you don't know what a star picket is, it's these. And we're going to need a lot. We do have a heap up the back that we can resource and some along here. So we won't have to buy them all, thankfully. Anyway, let's get started. Oh, here comes Moroni. He's putting in the ornamental kale and it's looking beautiful. First time we're actually putting flower net in properly. It's only taken us, this is coming into our 4th season. So it only took us 4 seasons to decide that we probably should use it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because last season the kale grew tall, but it had a big bend in it. So we had very short stems when we could have had long ones. Okay, let's start with plot 1. So the way this works is, this is plot 1, this is plot 2, and that is plot 3. And then we're probably gonna, well, for me with my spreadsheet and my little drawings, I label the rows like A, B, C, D. So if it's plot 1A, it's this one. If it's plot 2B, it's that one. So that's how we've sort of organized things. And it has taken us 3 seasons to have this organized and have a system and a layout that we're really happy with. So the first row is celosia and it's ready to pick, which is a little bit unfortunate. We were hoping it would kind of be timed better for Mother's Day, which is nearly just over a month away. But I need to pick it because it will start going to seed and the weather's cooled down. I can dry it, but the other thing is most of them didn't develop very big heads. That's got its nice little brain shape, but it just didn't fill out and most of them didn't. And we're thinking because we have had a very, very weird season and we just didn't get the summer heat, and celosia doesn't love super hot heat, but we think that the inconsistency, we've had very cold nights, which celosia is not going to like, and it's just been not the best season for celosia. So we got what we got. Our next row is actually a vegetable row. It's brassicas. So I haven't labeled it, but rough idea is broccoli. We've got some cabbages, so some Copenhagen cabbages and also some red ones. We've got Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. So that's what's in here. It's a bit of a surprise I'm pretty sure up this end was the Brussels sprouts. I just got it in. You can see I need to get in here and weed, which I will. Oh, this was originally the row that had all the, let me pick this up. This was the row that had the ranunculus in it, and if you've been following along, we lost most of our ranunculus. Those floods that we had, we actually lost about 75% of our ranunculus, including the new seeds I've grown. So I'm starting new stuff, but I can actually see some that have come up in here. So we're going to get some ranunculus. We thought we lost them all. You've even tilled that bed and everything. Mm-hmm. So slight miracle going on here. So that will be very nice if we get some when we thought we lost them all. The little tiny, tiny, tiny ones are in this end, so I'm doubting we're going to get any in there. You never know.
You never know, yeah.
Okay, this row has sunflowers. Do you remember what variety? Were they just radiance?
Radiance.
Yeah.
And the next one is radiance as well.
Yeah, okay. So this is radiance, this is radiance. These ones are getting close to, well, they don't actually have their, well, some do. They're getting closer to being ready to be picked. And it's just in time because with the change of season, the sun gets lower and it starts to shade this plot, and we don't plant in this plot over the winter. We've just got the brassicas in. These ones hopefully will flower. We can't be sure though. This was our gomphrena row and it has been amazing. We've still got some here, and if you leave them, the stems just get longer, so we can pick. Some have gone to seed and it will have self-seeded, so we will get some more next season. Our statice got incredibly long. That's like 1 meter tall there. But it didn't flower up like it would normally, so I'm not sure what's happened there. And we did get a little bit of cosmos in the end. This one we actually kept for seed. I've picked the pieces off that I wanted to keep for seed, and I got those before this next lot of rain. That does have seed in there, but it's wet. It's wet now. But I did get some cosmos because we had some rogue plants that flowered and didn't get the curly top virus, so very lucky. And the one that I've saved the seed off is going to have a really good seed for next year. It hopefully will be disease resistant seed, so we should be safe next year hopefully. Vase life isn't amazing on cosmos, but when you're picking it, when it's sort of at this stage, it is. And there's always something open on the stem. I would cut that piece off, have one open flower and some closed buds. And I just tell people, as the flowers become spent, just snip them off and the other buds will open up. And that's sort of how you extend the vase life with cosmos. It takes a little bit of maintenance. I've just bumped into a bee. And then this is a dahlia row. So this was our dahlia selection that was supposed to be for Valentine's Day, but it didn't flower in time. So we're now seeing them now, but I'll go through what we've got. This one I don't know the name of. I've just called it Red Ball Medium. It was just a really pretty red colour. Would have been perfect for Valentine's, but it turns out it has not been a very heavy cropper, and it's got a sideways facing head on it, which is okay when you're making a really full bunch of flowers. You can prop it up against something else, but as soon as someone puts it in the vase, it's going to go sideways again. So I'm not sure I'm going to keep that for cut flowers for next season. Then we've got First Prize, and it is my absolute most favourite dahlia because it's got a really good vase life. It's a nice ball shape, and the tones of it really go with everything. It's very pretty. It looks beautiful with natives. It looks beautiful with pinks. You can pop it in with dark colours. It's really pretty. So that's a keeper. These tubers, I'll probably sell some, but I'll keep most because I'm going to do a whole row of that one for next season. And then this next one is one that I got, I think last season. It's called Hot Shot. It was a really nice one too. It opens with the top facing up. It curls into a ball, as you can see over here. It's a keeper, and it's not quite as deep of a red as the other one I have that I'm going to get rid of. So this will be the other one that I keep for Valentine's Day. I've just got to get it in earlier if the weather lets me. Then Trevelle and Pride. Oh, we've got cucumber. So we did put some veggies in amongst our flowers, which we're going to do from now on. Trevelle and Pride. It's going to be hard for you to see, but it almost looks iridescent when it opens up. It's really pretty, and it's got a nice shaped head. And then Seagull's another pretty one. It's a water lily variety. They all got wet because it's been raining. It's very pretty, like this pale pink, and then it moves to the yellow, like a very kind of almost limey yellow in the middle. More veggies. And this was more Seagull over here. I've just heavily picked. This one is one that just fell over. I've just left it because it looks cute on the ground like that. Okay, this row we've got Tomatillo. It's pretty well done. It's we've picked what we wanted off it. We make salsa from the tomatillos. I can't remember if I've shown you that. I don't think I have, but we did show how to make the purslane taco filling, which is made from weeds. Purslane's classed as a weed, and it is beautiful, and the video is up on my channel if you want to go and have a look at that. It's a quick one, like 6 minutes or something. We do make salsa with tomatillos. Anyway, we haven't. But I also put them in flower arrangements because it looks really pretty. And we do still have one plant that's giving me nice stems for that, which is in this next row. And I can still get kind of some nice long stems that have the tomatillo on the end, and it's kind of fascinating to people in a bouquet. So we didn't actually plant this, it just self-seeds itself wherever it wants, and we just let it go. Anyway, let's have a look at these dahlias. I actually labelled them from this end, so it's much easier if I start from here and work my way back because I can look at the labels really easy. This is Evening Mist. It's a purple one, and I love it, and it's a keeper. I'll have to pop one up on the screen for you to have a look because I don't have any open at the moment. Very pretty, definitely keeping it. And then the next one's Sahara, and it is yellow, a big yellow ball, like a real fluffy one. And I am in two minds about it. I'm not sure if I want to keep that in the cut flower garden for next season or not. It does open up very nice, but then when it fully opens, it's got a pretty ordinary looking center to it. And its heads flop and they're sideways facing. I think I would prefer, unless I find a really nice yellow replacement in the meantime, I actually think I'll just use it till I find a better replacement. Laney's Joy, I'll have to pop you one up on the screen because I don't have a picture because I've been picking it so heavily, but it produces beautiful long stems. Look at that. That would be probably 1.30 meters long. Very, very long stems that you can tower out over the top of a bouquet, which is, you know, a little bit whimsical, really pretty. And I mean, here's one that's kind of on its way. They're really good. That'll be staying. And then this little tiny one, this is called Wendy's Place, and it is a tiny little bush with a tiny little dahlia on top, but it's a very cute dark sort of burgundy, and I really love it. It's probably not something that everyone's gonna love to have, but I love black flowers. It's kind of lingering on that dark sort of black color, and I love dark bouquets. So I love to pop those little kind of, they look like shadows in a bouquet, and I love that. Oh, hang on, look, here we go. I do have a Laney's Joy to show you. She's just fallen over, but isn't that pretty? Very pretty. It's not a ball. I think it was a water lily style, and I love those. They're just absolutely gorgeous. All right, moving on, Venetian. Really pretty colors on Venetian. Oh, she's kind of a half and half. Really pretty. Beautiful, I love her. She does face sideways, but because she fluffs out, it works in a bouquet. I would let her open a little bit more before picking, just so it's a little bit more of a ball. Here's one that's really kind of fluffed open. She doesn't have as much colouring. I have gone through and labelled all of these plants, and I think with, oh, that one came off. I need to put that on, but I think with this one, I might just make a note that she doesn't have those little flecks of deep purple. And this may be one that I don't keep, this actual tuber clump. Okay, we've got another one here. What was it? This was just a tomatoey red one that ended up as a random one in the middle of nowhere, and I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's the same as this one. I have a label on there, but I need to just name it properly. Was it Hot Shot? Let me see. Yeah, it's Hot Shot. So I need to label that because it's in the wrong spot. But even though I've got main labels on each section, I've also tagged each individual dahlia because of this reason. Because otherwise I'd dig out these tubers and potentially sell this as the wrong dahlia. This is another one that's in the wrong spot and it somehow got here. I don't know what this is called. It was one I got from Bunnings a few years ago. If anyone knows, let me know, because I've got a lot of them and they are another one that look really pretty in bouquets. Anyway, moving on, Cliff Salmon. Another really pretty one. This row is ones that I kind of knew I liked, except Sahara I thought I liked, but I don't think I do. Cliff Salmon. Look at those tiny little curls in the petals. Really, really pretty. Got some tomatillo in here. And this one, this orangey one, is Bracken Palomino, and I've got a lot of it everywhere. This is what I call him, a he. This is what he looks like when it's like a apricot with a little golden touch in there. So I've got them everywhere. They're keepers. And then the last one in this row is Drachenberg, which is the big pink cactus, and I've loved that one since I first saw it, so she is a keeper. Next row, I'm just going to go up the other end. I've got a couple more Drachenberg which hopefully I've labelled. I might come back out and fix these up. I don't have labels on these, but that's how big it looks. Really pretty. I knew something like this is Mexico. This one's Wendy A. They're little, just little tiny, what do they call these again? Just forgotten. They're little, but they've got a very, very, very short vase life. So they're really, you know, if I need them for something special, I did put this one in that dried arrangement, like the autumn arrangement, because I knew it'd just kind of dry and look shriveled up a little bit. So I did that for that. But otherwise, these for me are just garden variety. But I obviously keep this one because it's called Mexico. Oh, and this one's called Nael. It's another little, oh, is it called an enemy dahlia? I'll pop it up on the screen. I just can't remember what the actual style is called. That one's a little bit bigger actually. It's kind of cute. Look at that. So I think this one had a longer vase life too because it is a bit bigger. And as it opens, it pushes those back petals down. So it opens into a ball. So it hides the backs. This one doesn't do it. And that one doesn't really either. And some I don't know names of at all. So what I've done is taken photos with a description on a tag. So that one's dark purple ball. And then figure out what I'm keeping. I've put crosses on labels if I'm not keeping them. This is another, well, it looks like Drachenberg, but it's not that dark pink. So it's not the red one. These ones are Bracken Palomino. I've got a heap of that in here, but the one that I just hoped that I had actually saved, it's me again. Well, technically it's been me all along. But what I wanted to quickly interrupt again and say, do we want to do a live soon? I feel like it's been a while. The other thing I was wondering is, could we do a Zoom call so we could actually interact? So maybe we'll talk about that in the live. Let me know. Is this, and it's called Show and Tell. And it is the most amazing dinner plate, just ball of fire. I love it. It was the one thing that out of these lost tubers that I'd hoped I'd actually popped in, and I did. So that is 100% being kept. Bracken Palomino, I don't know what this is. It looks a little bit like avalanche, but it's not avalanche, so I'm not sure. And then there's some other here. This was a giant, like huge dinner plate. It looked like Venetian, really pretty. Another massive big dinner plate, which is real pretty. So I'll keep that, but it might just go in the house garden. But look at this one. It's so dark and I love it. And there's this one, the one I got from Bunnings. And then another that looks like Drachenberg, and a few other things that I've cut flowers off because I've used them, but I've actually tagged them and taken the photo. So some of these, actually a lot of these are keepers. Final row was sunflowers. We will clean that row up, weed it out, turn it over and leave it. So as soon as the frost hits, this will all die off. This actually the sunflowers will probably last a couple of light frosts in the beginning if we get them. But other than that, everything in this first plot is going to be killed by the frost. So, and then we don't replant in here because, as I said, it sits in shade. It'd be almost 11 o'clock in the morning now and it's still part shade. So we just clean the beds up, dig the tubers up. I'm not dividing tubers this year until spring. They're going to be dug up, stored in clumps because I found that was the best survival. I got way more tubers off the ones that I had in clumps because you can see the eye at that point. And yeah, then this will just sit to rest, except for I might put some more veggies in that very front row because these two rows will get more sunshine than everything else. So that's plot 1. Plot 2, and look how pretty it's looking. We've actually got plants. So the marigolds, which I wish we had had from the start of the season, but we just didn't. But they're looking really, really pretty. And this is cinnamon basil. And if you've grown basil, like the cinnamon basil, it smells absolutely amazing. Like it is so fresh and beautiful. And this purple pop of colour with the dark leaves in bouquets looks stunning and it makes everything smell beautiful. And we grew it last season, loved it, and we put a whole row in and we're so happy we did. and we should, unless we get a frost, have this in time for Mother's Day. If a frost is coming, we'll go through and pick everything that's going to get hit and at least try and save it. This is small enough though that if a frost is coming, we can cover this and protect it. So we've got a few options. This is the ornamental kale. Moroni's working on that. I think he's gone to try and find a kid to try to help him, but she's not well, so I don't think she'll feel up to it. Sunflowers, these might be a bit small to actually survive before the frost, but we put them in because you never know. We were harvesting sunflowers right up until mid-June last year. And then we've got these really big ones, they're radiants. They will be ready to pick very soon. And then that row will be turned over and cool flowers go in here. Kind of tossing up, pulling that row out so we can use it and get some cool flowers in there as well. This is Feverfew, and the row where the kale's going in was that Feverfew row that we kept for 2 years. It was the perennial one. Well, they're all perennials, but I mean, we grew it as a perennial. We cut it back down, let the plants grow again, so we didn't have to plant new seedlings. And it does work as long as your first cuts, like when you're harvesting for the first time, you're cutting it very low to the ground so it can shoot up a really long stem for the next flush. It's just a very long wait between successions is the only problem. The quickest way to succession plant Feverfew was actually to grow it from cuttings. So we'll show you that in another video. This one I think we are just going to cut to the ground and let it regrow, and then the one over in plot 3 we're going to pull out and do as cuttings, just so it's quicker, because we do want Feverfew very early in the season, and that's our best chance. Now, this row is vegetables again. So this is root vegetables. We've got carrots, we've got some radishes along the edge. I put in Swedes because we love it in soup. A little bit of beetroot up the end because I'm the only one that eats it. And what was the other thing? The other root vegetable? Having a total blank. What was it? What's the other one? A little bit of parsnip. Nobody really likes it. But I just thought variety doesn't hurt, does it? Was there something else? Oh, I can't remember. And then this row was our snaps. I cleaned those out in a video a few videos ago. We've got sea holly up there, which we will keep. We'll probably take it to halfway. We decided not to do a whole row of sea holly because we don't use it enough to use that much space up. But it is amazing for the bees, and we do use it now and again. So we'll probably do a half. We'll just move some of those plants down a little bit because they replicate by like crazy. There's little tiny plants everywhere in here. So we'll clean that up and clean this up and move them over. And I can't remember what the other one was that's going in there. I wish I could remember that. Anyway, you'll see that in a future video. I'll show you the plan of what's happening. Now, plot 3, let's just start from the end up here. This was a baby's breath, but if you've been following along, we actually planted the wrong variety and it wasn't very good. So while we just let the weeds take over. We're ripping all of that out. And I've just ordered the correct seed, which I'll put up on the screen so we know what we're growing. But we also put some carnations in, and I love them. So we didn't net it, which, you know, story of our lives, but at least we've started. We're netting this season. I will leave this little tiny patch in because why not? It's a nice little pop of colour. Quick interlude. Some other news is I've got my first brand deal, which I think is amazing because I had always thought that you needed a lot more followers, but thank you so much for watching videos and watching to the end, because that kind of data shows up when people are searching for someone to collaborate with, and I've got good retention, so which you can't see as viewers, but I can see it in the back end of YouTube, and people that pay for services, particular services, can not see my specific stats, but they can get an idea of what they probably are like. So thank you everyone for watching so much. So that's coming up, and it's a product that is something that we've needed to do on the farm and we've been thinking about. So let's do a quiz. Which one do you think it is? Choose from these 4. Let me know in the comments which one you think it is, and it'll show up in a video hopefully before the end of April. I'm hoping. I'm just waiting for it to arrive. Yeah. This row is the Feverfew. We've got one rogue tomato plant, which we may or may not get ripe tomatoes from. So this was done with seedlings, and we've got the little cute variety there, which does not have as long stems as Feverfew. So just keep that in mind if you're going to grow this, or we haven't had long stems. But here are the plants that Moreau and I grew from cuttings. And as you can see, they're very, like, really nice and tall and bushy and long stems. So this row, he's thinking he's going to rip out the bits that are pretty short and no good, and he'll do cuttings for the rest. So we'll show you that in an upcoming video, how to do that. Zinnia row. Zinnia row is pretty done. There are still some nice, sorry, I need to get out of I'm in the sun. There are still some nice heads on it, so I think we'll leave the row in for as long as we can until we actually need it to pop in the cool flowers. This whole plot up here is fairly poor soil. It's the newest plot and we haven't worked on it yet. But zinnias, sunflowers, the bulbs, because they've got nutrients stored in them, all do okay in pretty bad soil. There are some cool flowers that will go in here where the soil isn't very good because they'll survive in poor soil. One of them's yarrow. Yarrow can be very invasive. It can take over and spread a lot. But if you plant it in poor soil, it kind of helps contain it a little bit. So we'll put a row of yarrow in. I'll pop them up on the screen, the other ones that will go well in poor soil. And that's what we'll sort of put up here, and then the leftover rows will work on the soil ready for the spring. This zinnia row, up the end it's much better. I don't think it's going to make it before the frost. So if we need that bed, we'll rip it out. These are the lemon rush sunflowers. People are fascinated by them because they're such a pale colour. Very, very pretty. People love them. Now this is our row of lilies. We've been working on pulling those out. You saw that in a previous video. We've got this little section done. We just need to get the rest of this out. But what kept happening was the tubers kind of had the bulbs had a second lease on life and kept throwing up flowers. So they're the lilies, they're out. These are the glads. We had to kind of wait for them to stop and go dormant so that they could start storing up nutrients in those bulbs. So it's very late to pull them out, but they're fine. And then a couple of rogue dahlias. We've got that first prize one, which is beautiful, and Drachenberg. Just a couple of extras. They're labelled, so they'll go into storage too. And then our last two rows, Feverfew, which grew terrible. It evidently does not like poor soil. It really didn't do well at all. And our final row of sunflowers, and these are I'll put on the screen, having a blank. They're beautiful, I love them, but we only did one row of that variety. We only did one row of this and one row of the lemon rush this season, which is fine. I mean, it was enough to have something different because these ones aren't really something people will go for. They're too dark, but they do look good in some bouquets. I just remembered another plant that'll go in poor soil is Rudbeckia, and I'm planning on putting it in this row. So that is everything that we've got. I feel like we're finally growing flowers, and we feel proud of ourselves because that was so much trouble, and we just kept going. So if you are having a rough season, or if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and just coming into your season and you're having a hard time, if this is what you really want to do, just stick with it. Like I said in, I think last week, we are going to do a video about the economy at the moment because it's hit us pretty hard. So that's the next thing. We've got flowers now, but people just can't afford to buy them. So we'll talk about that in another video. I will quickly show you my dahlias, the beautiful avalanche, over in our little plot, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to do over there. This is our little house plot that has some random bits and pieces in it. Avalanche. She's gorgeous. Unfortunately, the row did not perform how I was expecting, and I think because there's too much competition in here now. But, you know, my idea was to have a row of white, but I am going to have an amazing stockpile of avalanche dahlia tubers, which if anybody wants to buy some, I will put up some for sale in spring, because they are, I just think they're magical. They're like the most perfect pure white. They've got that tiny bit of yellow in the center, but it looks more like a shadow. Oh, they're amazing, like a really beautiful feature flower. So the tubers I bought for this season are these. I had 6 that I bought. They didn't perform very well. This was an okay yellow, not amazing though. Oh, it looks like my label's rubbed off. That is very unfortunate. I'll have to go back through old videos. Massive perk of making videos because I can go back and have a look at what the names were, which is good, so I've still got them. But yeah, not great. I mean, I don't really think any of these were keepers, to be honest. I just can't remember. I need to go back and have a look at that video. H. Pam. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I'll put it on the screen. You asked about the billy buttons from last year, so I'll give you an update. This is them. They're all dead. They're all dead. I actually stopped looking after them because a lot of them died and I had them in this hothouse, and then there was like 5 left, so I just kind of stopped looking after them. But January this year I planted, what have I got, 3 trays of them, and they are growing really nice and I'm actually looking after them. They've taken a really long time to germinate. We had to wait for the conditions to be right, but they will all go in the ground. Well, I'm not exactly sure. I think spring. Anyway, that's where they're up to. So this was cornflake, which was really disappointing. I was so excited about getting it and I just didn't love it. It has a sideways facing flower for starters, and I just didn't really love the colouring. We do have something little here. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, but that's what it's doing. Some dahlias, and I kind of leave them here because as you come down the drive, you can see them, but they're very pretty. I think is this Bracken Palomino? I have to have a look, but very heavy producer. Last thing to show you is the hothouse, but here is the hothouse, and I've got some cute little things to show you. These are all things that I never got in, so they're sort of dying. But look at this. This is a tray of sunflowers, and we never actually planted it, so they're like the most miniature little things and they're so cute. More basil, it'll just die off. So I'm actually going to come in here, tip out all the trays of stuff that it's either not, I'm actually going to put this in the sun because I want to have them all open up. That's going to be cute, and I'll get a photo with them open. I'm actually going to tip out all the trays of things that, like the amaranth, no point. It's going to get hit by frost. There's no point. Getting rid of the baby's breath because it was the wrong variety. Amaranth, no point. Amaranth, no point. This is a different type of feverfew. It's a yellow. I'm hoping it still might do okay. But yeah, most of this, the marigolds, I will actually try to overwinter those. And we've got more baby's breath, which has got to come out. No point. I'm just going to tip out those trays and put new stuff in. I've got some Rudbeckia, which I will put in because I can overwinter that. And then the billy buttons, I just got to get these a bit warmer. They've been a bit too moist for too long now. Moroni's putting that in. All of my hydrangeas, they will just be stored over winter in here. These were trays I bought from Bunnings. I've already done the plants, but I'm going to refill them with violets. These are my veggies. I've got to get the lettuces in. This is coriander. I need to get that in as well. And then all these plants, of course, I have to plant. So we have a lot of work ahead of us now, but we feel like we're really on top of things. We've got a lot of projects for over the winter, and we're finally going to start putting in irrigation. We're going to hopefully get that fencing done, get that flower shack done before hopefully winter, but it seems unlikely, but we'll put that goal out there anyway. We just have to work very hard right now. Anyway, hope you've had a wonderful time watching our farm. I hope in some way it's been inspiring and that you go out there and grow and enjoy your weekend. Bye.